The Nazi regime's Aktion T4 program was one of history's most chilling conspiracies veiled under the guise of compassion and progress. By the time the operation's shroud was lifted, its architects had claimed the lives of over 300,000 innocents, leaving a scar on humanity. This is the story of Aktion T4, a tale of deception, horror, and the systematic extermination of those deemed unfit to live. The origins of Aktion T4 can be traced back to a single line buried deep within the pages of Mein Kampf. In 1925, Adolf Hitler planted the seeds of his vision for a pure Aryan race, asserting that those deemed weak or genetically inferior should not thrive. The idea simmered in the shadows for years, unnoticed by most and dismissed by others as the rantings of an extremist. But when Hitler rose to power in 1933, the whispers grew louder. Germany began to transform, brick by brick, into the embodiment of these dark ideals. The Nuremberg race laws forbade marriages between Aryans and non-Aryans. Programs like Lebensborn encouraged the birth of Aryan children. And in the quiet halls of government, plans were laid for a far more sinister endeavor. By the late 1930s, the regime's ambitions had coalesced into Aktion T4, a covert operation named after its Berlin headquarters at Tiergartenstrasse 4. Officially, it was to be a mercy-killing program. Unofficially, it was a methodical blueprint for genocide. On an unremarkable day in October 1939, Adolf Hitler signed an order that would initiate the program. It was written on his personal stationery, a handwritten note that marked the start of the Nazis' war against their own people. The directive was simple but devastating: identify and eliminate those deemed unworthy of life. 3 men took charge of this grim mission: Philipp Buhler, Hitler's trusted advisor and head of the chancellery; Karl Brandt, Hitler's personal physician; and Victor Brack, a bureaucrat who excelled in cold efficiency. These men wielded their authority like a scalpel, carving through the lives of their victims with chilling precision. Families received letters, kind words on official paper, informing them that their loved ones were being transferred to specialized facilities for better care. The words reassured them, softened their fears. Little did they know that these facilities were no sanctuaries. They were death factories. Unmarked gray buses ferried the unsuspecting victims to 6 primary euthanasia centers, each a cog in the Nazi killing machine. Once there, the true horror began. Doctors sworn to heal conducted sham evaluations to seal the victims' fates. Nurses, symbols of compassion, became silent accomplices. The methods were as diverse as they were barbaric. Carbon monoxide gas chambers, disguised as showers, became the primary tool of execution. For those who never entered the chambers, lethal injections, starvation, or drug overdoses awaited. In rare moments of mercy, victims were left to die through neglect, their humanity stripped away piece by piece. The killing process was as efficient as it was impersonal. Victims were assigned numbers, their names erased from records as if their lives had never mattered. Ashes were returned to families with fabricated causes of death, ensuring no trace of the program's true nature leaked beyond its walls. The scope of Aktion T4 defies comprehension. Those targeted were not criminals or enemies of the state, but society's most vulnerable individuals. One such victim was Aloysia Veit, Adolf Hitler's own grandniece. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, she was murdered in 1940 at the age of 49. Whether Hitler knew of her death remains a mystery, but her inclusion in Aktion T4 was no accident. Rumors of mental illness in Hitler's bloodline had long been a source of paranoia for the dictator, and eliminating Veit was a way to erase any perceived imperfections. Despite the regime's efforts to shroud Aktion T4 in secrecy, whispers of its existence began to leak. Families noticed patterns. Loved ones disappeared. Letters stopped coming, and institutions emptied without explanation. Public unease grew, fueled by courageous voices like that of Cardinal Clemens, August von Galen, who openly condemned the program from his pulpit. By 1941, the pressure was too great. Hitler officially halted Aktion T4 on August 18 of that year, claiming over 70,000 lives had been lost. But the pause was only a facade. The machinery of death continued, albeit in a quieter form. Doctors and nurses resumed the killings with syringes and starvation, ensuring the program's dark legacy endured. The horrors of Aktion T4 did not end with its victims. Many of the individuals who orchestrated the program would later apply their expertise to the Holocaust. Gas chambers tested on Aktion T4 victims became the foundation for the mass extermination camps of Treblinka, Sobibor, and Buzet. The systematic dehumanization and industrialized murder perfected during Aktion T4 paved the way for the final solution. After the war, some of the perpetrators faced justice. Karl Brandt and Victor Brack were executed for their roles in the program. Others, however, escaped accountability, their crimes buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and post-war chaos. Today, a memorial stands at Tiergartenstrasse 4, a silent tribute to the victims of Aktion T4. Its glass panels reflect the sunlight, a stark contrast to the darkness it commemorates. Each name etched into history serves as a reminder of what can happen when prejudice and power are left unchecked. The story of Aktion T4 is more than a grim chapter in history. It is a warning. It speaks to the perils of dehumanization, the dangers of silence, and the enduring need to protect the vulnerable. As we reflect on this tragedy, we must strive to build a future rooted in dignity, empathy, and respect for all lives, lest we allow the shadows of the past to creep into the present once more.